mi gente, welcome back to Made by Roots Venezuela in a Coffee with Anderson edition. Today we have a special, amazing, wonderful guest. Let's welcome Emma! Today's video is kids growing up as bilinguals, or what it's like to be bilingual. So, who better than Emma? I mean, she embodies it. Before starting, I would like that Emma introduce herself. So here we go.
So, hi everyone. As Anderson said, I'm Emma, and I am French and English. So these are both my mother tongues, hence the bilingual thing. And obviously, now that we are living in Germany, there is a further, rather stressful language added to it, German.
Yes. Okay. Well, you might wonder, you might ask yourself, like, why are you drinking a glass of wine instead of coffee? Well, we wanted to enjoy ourselves and actually like to go for a French way, why not? So to be chiller, to relax and so on. So, ma chérie, Santi, with nothing else to say, let's get started!
Woo!
So the first one is like, first of all, like you probably are a mom or a dad who have a child or children and you want to raise your child learning or listen to languages. So that's your video. Number two, if you are a person that you don't know anything about them, that's also your video, so you can learn something new. And the third reason is like, if you're Latin American or a person who speaks Spanish as a native speaker but you don't have a second language or you don't know anything about it, and you are thinking to learn a second language, it doesn't matter which language it is, so that's also your video, so stay there. Question number one. How do you feel growing, listening to languages?
So for me it was always quite a normal thing because I was born in the family with two languages. My dad always spoke English at home and my mom always spoke French. So it was just part of everyday life, and then it became even more normal, if I can say that, when I was about 5 and started school, because then I was always in bilingual schools. Okay. So all the other students, the teachers, everyone, they were bilingual, like me, speaking two languages native.
Well, it makes sense, which is the whole opposite way for me, because I didn't know that there were other languages in the world until I turned more or less like 6 or 7. Then I said like, oh my god, I mean, I thought that the whole world spoke Spanish until I turned 7. It's like, there is another language, more languages. So, good one. Which word was your first word, and in which language did you say that?
Ooh, good question. So obviously there's the maman, which is mum in French, and dad, you know, the standard first words for any child. But other than that, I actually had to ask my mom today because I didn't know. And so there are two of them. Funnily enough, one of them is in French and one of them is in English.
Oh, nice.
So the first one, the French one, was matou, which actually is not a word.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the child's pronunciation, or my pronunciation, of pantoufle.
Oh, it sounds more or less like Spanish one, like you say pantuflas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the same word,
Okay.
which for those of you who don't speak Spanish or French, it's slippers, or
Okay.
Hausschuhe for the Germans. And so that was my French one. And then the English one was also a mispronunciation of a proper word.
Yeah.
And it was caillou, which actually sounds very French, but it was English, because the story was my dad, when you're a child and you get tired, he used to ask, shall I carry you?
Shall I carry you?
Shall I carry you? And when I wanted to be carried, I would say, carry you.
Actually, it's really funny.
Which is like, carry you.
Nice one. Well, I don't remember my first word either, but probably it was Spanish. Spanish word. My people. So here's the third question. In which language do you think the most?
This is a hard one. Because instinctively, both. Obviously, when I'm having a conversation in English or having a conversation in French, I am more likely to think in the language in which I'm speaking, but not always. But then there are certain things, for example, the months in the year, that I will always think of in French.
Oh.
Maybe because I learned them in French.
You learned them.
Maybe, I'm not sure, I can't remember if I learned them in French.
I must agree with that. I'm not native. I mean, I don't have two mother tongues, but for example, there are certain words that I probably, or I'd rather say in English or German or Russian, because it makes way more sense in that language or exactly the situation, because it describes everything what you wanted to say. And that's the point. For example, unfortunately, Spanish is missing a bunch of words that describe a certain moment that probably another language does. And probably your situation is similar, even though that, you are native speaker of both of the languages. So
it's true. For example, one word that I think is amazing, I like this word a lot in English, it's awkward.
Oh yeah, I love it. I can describe that word,
there is no proper word for that in French. There's no word that's as good as awkward.
There is not such a word in Spanish either. I wouldn't say awkward in Spanish. There is not like, no.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
So
I love that word, by the way.
Yeah, great word.
Yes. So, question number 4. Or it's not a question, it's more like something that you can tell us based in your own experience. Like, could you tell us 3 advantages of being bilingual?
Oh yes. So, I mean, there are so many advantages of being bilingual, but I will name you only 3 because I could go on forever. So definitely this is something we have both recently experienced, having moved to Germany. The difficult task of learning a new language.
Oh.
Even more difficult because it was German. So being bilingual definitely makes it easier to learn a new language, for sure.
So, second one, tell us.
So the second one, I've combined 2 things into one, and I've said the ease of obviously on the job market, but also with traveling. So both of these are, it's great to have as many languages as possible and to speak the languages as well as possible. So obviously being bilingual in 2 languages is super helpful, especially
open a bunch of doors.
Yeah, and especially 2 quite important languages like English and French.
That's the problem for us as Latin Americans. For example, we don't travel out of Latin America because unfortunately we just speak Spanish, and which is a little bit unfortunately because we are missing most of the half a word to travel. And I always try to encourage my friends to speak English, to learn English, and that's why, because it's a huge advantage. And probably because at this side of the world, if you speak another language besides your mother tongue, people will hire you faster than a person who just speaks Spanish or English or French or German. So it makes sense. And the last one, but not least, is...
So this one is a little bit more specific, but quite applicable to my life, to your life as well, because I know you. But it only works when you are speaking with people who speak the same languages as you.
Okay.
So, but when I'm speaking with someone who speaks English and French, or English and French and German, I will never forget a word, because I can switch from language to language to language. Even if I've forgotten a word, boom, just spit it out in another language, or use these words, as you said, like awkward. Even if you're speaking in French, bang, just throw awkward into the conversation. So you will always, you know, have all the words that you need. All the words are there for you.
It makes sense. I got a similar situation while I was in China, and most of my Russian friends, or the people who spoke Russian, they spoke English as well, and Russian, or at least, Chinese. And while we were talking in a conversation, and having a conversation, we have this situation where we didn't know how to describe, or we just forgot a Russian word or an English word, and just switch into Chinese or something like this. And everyone was able to understand what we were talking about because of these advantages. So,
super advantage.
Great one. Great one. Bueno, mi gente, that's all for today. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, to like, to leave your comment below, and well, to show it to your mom, to your dad, to your girlfriend, to your boyfriend, to your better than nothing, or your cat, your dog, or whatever.
So thank you, merci beaucoup de nous avoir regardés. On espère que vous avez bien aimé la vidéo. Et à la prochaine.
À la prochaine.
Salut.
Salut.